Hi, my name is Marisha with AH Beads, and today I'm doing a single strand pearl knotting demo using pliers and the pearl knotting tool. For this project you'll need pearls or beads. You can use just about any kind of bead you want, like semi-precious stone, glass, or crystal, so long as your beads are all drilled to the same size of hole. You will also need silk cord. This is pearl knotting silk. It comes in all different sizes, but generally I use between a 3 and a 6 for average size pearls. You can see that it comes with a needle attached, which helps you thread your pearls easily. Pick the size that fits snugly through the holes of your pearls. You can use other materials to knot beads like ribbon, cotton, or leather, but this is kind of the most preferable traditional stringing material. You will need a calotte. One calotte for either side of your necklace, so generally 2 for a necklace or bracelet. The type that I prefer is the hook and clamshell variety, if you can see it. These attach to the ends of the knots on either side of your necklace or bracelet. They create a loop to attach your clasp to. You'll also need glue. Basically, this is used on either end to secure the knots that sit inside of your calotte. I prefer the GS Hypo Cement because it has a very fine tip and you can get into very tight spaces, which you will definitely need to glue inside of a clamshell calotte. You're going to also need a clasp. You can use just about any kind of clasp you want, but I am today using a simple little spring ring. You're going to need a pair of scissors. You're also going to need a pair of round nose or needle nose pliers. I use these once I've pushed my knot up against my pearl to really tighten the knot. If you don't do this, it will stretch out over time and you'll create little spaces between your pearls. Basically, this is the most low-tech way of stringing pearls, but it does have its advantages and disadvantages. It creates a very tight knot, but if you use too much force you can break your thread. It's also hard on the fingers, so I recommend using a band-aid or something to protect your fingers if you're wrapping thread around your fingers to pull on knots. So I'll use this method first. You can also use a pearl knotting tool, which makes it's very simple compared to using this. It takes a lot less skill, so they create quite a nice little tight knot right up against the pearls. It's very consistent once you get the practice down, once you get used to them. They look a little confusing, but once I go through it a few times you'll kind of understand. So I will start by tying a knot on the very end of my thread. Another thing to remember with this pearl knotting silk, it comes on a card, so it's usually a good idea. As you can see, it has kinks in it. I like to run that through my fingers or over a surface that'll just kind of straighten it out and kind of unravel any kinks and twirls it has. You can see it kind of untwirls as you do this. So should be enough. Be careful that you don't tangle this as you're working, because it can get knots in it, so just be aware of that. So I'm going to tie a nice little overhand knot on the very end. So in order to do a little overhand knot, all we do is grab the tip of our thread. We're going to take our silk and wrap it around your middle and index finger and just cross it over. And then I'm going to take this piece and just pull it down between my fingers. And you can see that creates a nice little perfect knot. And then we're going to try to push this as close to the end as possible. So that's good. You can see there's a little left over. Don't worry about trimming this right now. Of course, this is going to get covered by our calotte, so we can trim at the very end and also apply a little bit of that glue. So now we're going to feed this knot inside of our calotte. So on this side, we want our calotte to face inward or outward. We want the loop to face outward, so we have to go, you can see there's a little hole here on the calotte. We're going to go through from the inside just like that. So now our knot is hidden inside of the culotte. We also want to tie a little knot on the other side here, just to protect your pearl from the metal of the culotte. So we're going to tie another overhand knot. Again, take our thread and wrap it around our middle and index finger and pull the thread down between your two fingers. So there's a method I use to by hand to push this knot right up against the culotte, and it takes a little practice, but once you get it right, it's very easy. I just use my pinky and ring finger to grip my silk thread, and I use my thumb and my forefinger just to lightly grip the thread, and I just pull. You can see I pull the silk and I just keep on pushing the knot back toward the culotte. So you can see it's getting closer and closer, and it's tightening up, and it should tighten up just as it's right up against the culotte. So this is not tight enough as it is just to start stringing our pearls. We'll have to take the round nose or needle nose pliers and push that knot even tighter. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take my thread and I just kind of wrap it around my fingers for grip. This is where you can kind of hurt yourself, so again I use like a band-aid usually right here. And I'm going to take my round nose plier and I'm going to hold the thread on the left side of the knot. We don't want to grip the thread, we just want to use this to create a little resistance and push that knot, pull that knot nice and tight. So we're not even closing down on the pliers, we're just holding onto the knot and pulling on the thread a little bit. You don't want to do it too hard, because again at this point you can cut your thread. So it's a lot easier than you think. So now we're ready to thread our pearls on, and all we're going to do is thread it on. Pull the pearl through, and again we're going to tie another knot on this side. Again we're going to do an overhand knot, so cross over, pull the thread down between your index and middle finger, and grip the thread with your pinky and ring finger, and just push the knot toward the pearl. There we go. And again, I like to wrap it around my fingers, use my round nose plier, and just push on that thread. And so usually you can feel that knot tighten up. And we're going to put another pearl on. So pull it close, and we're going to tie an overhand knot. So wrap the thread around your fingers, pull the long end through, and slide that knot right against the pearl, and again we tighten. Every time we make a knot, we tighten it with the round nose plier. Bring it around, we're making another overhand knot. Just pushing that knot right up against the pearl. If you don't get it quite close, don't sweat it. It's practice. You know, you have to practice to get this right over time. Now we're going to learn using the pearl knotting tool. So the first time I saw this, it looked a little confusing. I mean, this pushes up and you've got this needle. Basically, this does everything. This actually pushes your knot up against the pearl and tightens it at the same time. So you pretty much start out the same. You're going to make the same kind of knot, just an overhand knot, except we're not going to push it toward the pearl using our fingers. We're going to let this do that for us. So we're going to thread another pearl on, pull it through, and we're going to tie an overhand knot and just leave it loose. Now we have to push this needle through that knot and just hook it. And all we do is just pull on our thread. Sometimes it takes a little work to get it right up against, and that, you can see, has pushed the knot right up against the needle, or right up against the pearl. And then you're going to see this little notch part here, and it's kind of confusing. You kind of wonder what you do with that part. You're going to take your long end of your thread and put it through the notch like that. And then we just pull, and you can see when I pulled it, this pearl slid up the needle, or the knot slid up the needle. And then we're going to push this part up, which will tighten the knot and pull the needle off of our knot at the same time. So in one fluid motion. So now our knot is off of our needle, and our knot is sitting up against the notch there. So we've got our slack end, and our knot is on the left side of the notch. And we can just pull, and that actually, instead of using the round nose pliers, tightens the knot. So that's it. You can inspect your work. Looks pretty good. We'll do another one. So we need to put a bead on, a pearl on. And we're going to make another overhand knot. And put our needle inside of the knot. Pull it up against the needle. Take our long end of the thread, pull it through the notch, and give it a tug, and then push on this metal piece here, which will push the thread off. And we'll do another one. And tie another knot. Now you can continue doing this until you've reached the length that you want. I will probably do a bracelet, so we'll jump ahead a few beads. Okay, so we've reached the desired length that we want. This is going to be a bracelet, and now we have to put a culotte on this end. So this time we're actually going to thread through the culotte from the outside. Thing through, and we have to create a little knot here, which we can use the pearl knotting tool for as well. So we're going to make an overhand knot, again just like before. And pull that up tight. That knot was pretty close, so it's good. You could also use the pliers to do the same job. And then now all we have to do is cut our thread. And you would want to glue either of these little end knots, of course, but we're just going to skip that for the sake of time here. So we're going to trim. And trim. And we can close these culottes up. I generally just do it by hand, but you could use your pliers if you're gentle. Okay, now we just attach these little loops for a clasp on either side. And all we have to do is, I actually use the round nose pliers to close these loops up, but all you have to do is continue to turn them, because they're already pre-curved, but it makes it a little bit better if you just grab this and just pull it inward. So I'll do the same thing on this side, just pull it closed, just like that. And that's it. It's a simple pearl knotted bracelet or necklace.